The questions. Now, many years ago, a very elderly judge told me, and I have to research it, so I'm not certain, not having a quorum could not bring government to a halt.
That's right.
So when there is a recusal, there is a temporary need to replace others to the board.
That's right.
So in fact, what they often did in the old days, they would draft people to temporarily perhaps pull them out of a pool as you would with jury, so that the board could move along. And then when the recusal issue is gone, then they step back and the original members take over their board. But hardly could we expect that by having this conflict of interest would government come to a halt. That's absolute absurd nonsense. So I think we will research this and find out what is the mechanism. If not one, then we have to deal with
I
one and put one in
Well,
place.
sorry, I want to get Ellen. Ellen, you wanted to say something? And then I'll get Bill.
Well,
here.
it's a remark to what
No,
he
but
said.
do you want to speak, Ellen, or do you want to?
I wanted to make a comment too. I'm an outsider. I'm a journalist and I'm writing about the situation at present in New York State.
And your name is?
Oh, my name is Helen Canter. I write for an online magazine called Tom Dispatch, which gets reprinted in many places, from CBS News through Huffington Post through international publications. I was just going to make a comment when you, I'm sorry, I
My
don't.
name's Mina.
Mina, when Mina raised the issue of how people get used to this stuff, I've reported in war zones, and it's a known fact of post-traumatic stress syndrome that people get passive. And if you're living with I imagine, I'm very glad I came tonight. I was almost not going to come. And now that I've had a preview of what I'm going to see on Wednesday, I know more. I wish I'd gone with you folks, because it's so nice to have a very large group where people are asking different questions. But with the amount of noise that people are suffering, with the saturation of the air, with volatile organic compounds, with high levels of methane, the effects of which are not known, that whole groundwater situation. There's such a concatenation of really horrifying effects of this industry that the people who are the victims of it, if you live there and you can't move,
That's right.
you go numb. And it is a known effect that there's a guy named Kai Erickson who has done writing. He's an anthropologist and sociologist, and he's written about disasters in West Virginia, for example. There was an enormous flood that was a result of a complicated situation involving strip mining. And the people simply went numb. There was a loss of community, a loss of the fabric of the society. And I don't know, as an outsider, I can't help saying, you folks have a wonderful movement in New York State.
Thank you.
You have an absolutely wonderful resistance movement that is unparalleled in the United States. And I'm saying that because I wrote an article about it, which was published in January. And it got picked up. I mean, it went viral because people didn't know about this movement that crosses political lines and lines of ethnicity and lines of religious belief. And this movement has kept horizontal hydraulic fracturing thus far out of New York State. And I just thought you ought to know what this group of people is part of. I've been going all around the state. Anyway, so I'll shut up.
Yeah. Well, we have Bill, and then we have Dave and Stacy.
I don't want to be devil's advocate, but you're talking about bringing in, with the government not halting, you know, I mean, where do you stop? Are you gonna, before you, take a ballot and vote people in, are you gonna ask them what their views are on natural gas?
It would become like jury selection,
Yeah,
so that
yeah,
the
but
government could
But if
function.
they're anti-gas, then, you know, some of the other folks that are pro-gas are gonna sit there and say, well, are you gonna recluse yourself from making, I mean,
No, you.
they got voted in as peers, if you
No,
didn't
they're not
think, if you
voted
didn't
in,
believe.
they are selected, randomly selected from the
Excuse me.
community, so
So
government.
Excuse me.
functions.
Excuse me.
Let him speak,
I
even
said,
though
the
we might not
officials that we
agree.
have right now were elected by their peers. If you were against natural gas and you went to vote for them,
We didn't know.
Can we?
it's,
just let
it's
him-
public knowledge.
we
I'm
might-
just saying,
excuse me,
if you're
excuse me, we
voting,
might not agree, but please let
I'm
him say
just,
what he has.
I'm not being argumentative, I'm just saying, if you go to vote for someone, I do a background check before I vote for anybody. You know, so, you know, if that's something you are not agreeing with, wouldn't that be one of your main concerns of someone who's gonna make decisions for you in your town?
That's right.
So, to me, I look at it as like, yeah, they recluse themselves, they kind of set themselves aside for making the decision, but in the other aspect is they shouldn't have. They didn't have to.
Okay, so.
They were voted in by
I don't
their
wanna
peers,
talk-
which means that
I
everyone
don't
gave
wanna
them the
go back and
okay
forth.
for their belief. So,
They're supposed to be impartial.
Okay, all right, did you finish, Bill?
exactly.
Bill,
So,
are you finished?
why would
Because I
they
don't
need to
wanna keep
recluse
people
themselves? I could go all day
answering you.
with this.
Okay, so